Go ahead and call the meeting to order at 6:29. Let's do an audio check. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Mike, let's hear yours.
Yeah.
Turn,
You all test your mics.
test. Testing. This is Ann.
Testing.
Okay, I heard all of you. Where's Rocco? Is he coming tonight?
He's not.
Don't know. I heard someone go to the bathroom, but not sure if that's him.
Okay. Well, I expected him. Do we have any additions, deletions to the agenda?
No.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, public comment. Do we have anyone on Zoom who wants to do public comment, or anyone present who would like to comment publicly?
Not seeing any public comment takers.
Let's look over our minutes. Are we ready to approve those? If so, I'd like a motion. Or the minutes of our October 25th meeting.
I'll move approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Passes unanimously.
Can I make a quick comment?
Of course.
I just wanted to thank Nate for putting in those slides
Oh, yeah,
for
you're
Jesse's presentation. It's nice to have that reviewed. Thank you. I'm glad. And so that's with the minutes, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
I like
because
it.
they weren't in the packet, so I
Yeah,
just think they're in the
perfect.
minutes.
Yep. Thank you.
Welcome.
Very helpful. Thanks. All right, new business. We have an application 20221026. The fence at 7155 Maple Street.
Yes, so this is application for actually a replacement of a fence. The applicant and owner, Christy Bellows, is here in the room. And so basically she had all the information that very thoroughly presented to me. And basically it's a replacement of old fence that goes along the driveway, slightly modifying the line of the fence to be directly on the property line. Currently it sits off the property line a little bit, and so she's just wanting to improve the fence and give herself a little bit more space. So it's a 6-foot high solid privacy fence. Materials are here noted in the report here. And so as per town code, fences do not require a setback. She's had recent survey work and flagging done and everything. So I'm very confident with the application as presented and would recommend approval. Again, Ms. Bellows is here in the audience if anyone has any questions.
We have commissioner questions? Comments?
Can you just review the, this is Lisa, review the data that you have, the diagrams, I guess, and where the fence would be, old fence?
Sure, yeah, so
Makes
here's the
sense.
site overview here. So that's showing Maple Street with the parcel highlighted there. And the fence is along this sort of southeast, that's not the right direction.
Okay.
North, I'm trying to picture it. It's flipped, so northwest.
Fence going all the way around where you got
No.
the yellow.
So this is properly, this is oriented towards the north. So Here it is. So this, basically from this point here about to this here. So that's the area of fence replacement. And because it's addressed off of Maple Street, this is considered the side. So that's the, if it was the front, there would be a limit to the height to not allow 6 feet, but it's the side here. So 6-foot fence is fine. And so this actually shows the old fence line coming down to here. And so this new fence line will just be in some places pushed over towards the west there, the southwest. But this pretty clearly shows what's going on and where the property pins have been found and all that good stuff.
I have a question. I went and looked and saw that yard and saw that side. It appears that the adjacent property owner's fence might connect to the existing fence. And I wonder what the discussion's been, if any, about that.
Oh, sorry. Here.
The chain link, is that what you're talking about?
So I went and looked and it looked like there was a gate or something that might connect with the existing fence. Have you discussed with the adjacent property owner what the plan will be for that?
Not specifically the gate. I did
Looks-
talk to them about that I wanted to do that fence.
So it connects, looks like there's a fence that what connects right in here, right? They have a fence that's kind of going perpendicular into yours, I think is what.
Yeah, the gate.
So
So if the fence is moved closer to the property, my question would be for the adjacent landowner, if there's been no discussion, what happens with that gate that hooks in with the existing fence that's a little further away from from there now?
I believe that there's still space for that to be there. It needs to probably be moved.
All right, so in essence, there's like a ripple effect for the adjacent property owner with this fence installation as proposed.
So if the survey is correct and the property owner, which, you know, the survey work's been done here. And so if the adjacent property owner's fence, then in theory would be going on to Miss Bellows' property, then I believe it's her right to change the fence line, and obviously it'd be her responsibility to talk to the neighbor and work that out.
Well, and that's my question, has that discussion occurred?
Not at this point. Specifically to the.
Right,
gate.
so I'm just trying to alleviate a potential issue. If your fence moves and that affects the neighbor's gate and there hasn't been a discussion, I think there should be.
I don't think it's our responsibility to guide that,
Well, whose responsibility is it?
the homeowners,
Which homeowner?
both.
Has that happened? So that's my question.
I think that's been answered.
So based on that, then if that discussion hasn't occurred, I think our approval would be premature.
I believe
I don't
have
think
a
so.
right to put a fence on my property. And I followed all the town guidelines.
I would
I would
think so
agree.
too. I would agree. Legal issues.
I think, I mean, you know, if it turns into some sort of civic dispute, it's not the town's purview to really
It's a civil matter.
get in
So,
between that, but we
I-
can approve a fence that's along a property line that's been determined by a survey.
I'm not disputing the right of the fence. I'm trying to alleviate a future dispute. You just said that the current property owner is obligated to speak with the neighbor.
I said it would be the responsibility of the property owner to figure that out. So I think that that can still be figured out by them once the permit has been granted.
Mrs. Bellows, do you anticipate a problem with the gate with the neighbor? Is that something you feel like you can work out, or do you anticipate a problem?
I mean, if the gate becomes an issue, I maybe would be willing to look at pitching in for a size down. If it doesn't take me.
Nate, I could not hear any of that.
I said,
If the gate,
an issue, I possibly would be willing to pitch in for the next size down. If it doesn't fit in that area.
The microphone cut out for most of that.
So she's saying that she's willing to help the situation if it becomes an issue with the neighbor.
Okay, so she anticipates a problem or she doesn't, or?
She said she's willing to help alleviate any issues that arise.
I don't believe the question's been answered.
I think legally it has. As far as her property, it's all that way. If she agrees that neighborliness can solve this, I would think we should trust that.
I think the question was, if Ms. Bellows anticipates a problem, it's an outstanding question from the commissioner, which has not been answered.
Do you do you feel like, do you want to answer that question? I don't.
know if there will be a problem.
Thank you. Mike, Lisa, comments, questions?
I don't have any. That answered my questions about the diagrams. Thank you very much. The yellow line, I didn't know if that was the whole fence, so thank you.
Mike, anything?
No, I think if she's building the fence on her own property, that I'm okay with that.
Okay, are we ready to have a vote on this? Are there any comments that Mrs. Bellows wants to make other than what we've already covered?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve. This is Ann.
Do we have a second?
Go ahead.
I second.
All in favor, aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Bellows. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would just say there's been a lot of fences not put up with a permit. So I appreciate Ms. Bellows coming to the town and doing the due diligence. Thank you.
Absolutely. And if she could consider fire resistant materials, that would be optimal. All right. So
Thanks a lot. I'll send you something via email so that you have that. All right. Yeah, you're welcome.
all right, we're ready for the public hearing regarding 10685 Hondo Avenue, the CSU pump station variances. And we've got variances and we have application. Whenever you're ready, Nate.
Yeah, so I guess we should call the public meeting to order here at 6:44. And so this beginning part would be strictly for public comment before going into the full application details. We do have some people from Colorado Springs Utilities as well as Dewberry, the engineering firm, which is worked on this development plan. So first, so basically just to summarize, the plan as presented is at 10685 Hondo Avenue. The situation is a vacant residential parcel. CSU has entered into a lease/easement agreement with the landowners there, so they're not selling. So it's remaining property of the owners who own the next house up the hill on Hondo. So the one right on the corner of Hondo and Colorado. And so the plan as presented, basically requesting variances for a permitted principal use on the property. So of course our code I felt was a little vague here, but obviously this is not a residential purpose. Our code does say that that public building is allowed as a use in the residential district, but I felt that was a little bit of a stretch to call it a public building. It is a publicly owned utility. So it's, a building for public benefit, but it's not a building that the public can freely access, of course. So the other one is a variance to the 15-foot front setback as designed. And because the building is being built into the hillside, they wanted to minimize the disturbance of the hillside and kind of have a balance of that and not, still maintaining somewhat of a buffer to the parcel line, to the property line. So as designed, that has a setback of 12 feet from that property line. And then because it's in the hillside overlay zone, that has a couple of rules that basically these are exemptions as stated in the code. I felt like it was pertinent to kind of treat these as variances essentially and just include them with all the public information going out. But one of them states that no building shall be closer than 25 feet from a major drainage. The major drainage here is basically a large drainage ditch that goes in between Hondo and the property. It starts quite a ways up Hondo, and it's a pretty significant ditch. And so the design here has the building being approximately 15 feet from the drainage ditch. One mitigating factor I think here is that as part of the development, they will be installing a larger and higher capacity culvert than what's there already. So I feel like that's basically an improvement to that drainage situation there. And then the last one is the rule stating that no building shall be closer than 100 feet from a building on an adjoining lot. So the pump station will be approximately 60 feet from the residents at 6985 Colorado. Those are the people that are granting the easement/lease of the property. So I'm assuming they don't have any issues with that. And then it's about 97 feet from the property that's on the downslope. So the driveways are kind of next to each other, but the other house is kind of up on the hill good ways. And so that measurement is 97 feet from that residence to the pump station as presented. And then so in addition to those two these four variances, essentially we've got the grading and erosion control application and the architectural and zoning review. And so at this point, I would open it up to any public comment. I see one person on Zoom, Joe Olds, that may be unrelated to the project. Any public comment, Joe? All right. Well, seeing that, I think we can close the public hearing and move on to further questions and details perhaps from CSU or Dewberry. I can, we can go through the diagrams and definitely happy to answer any questions here. We can close the public hearing at 6:49.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have questions for either of these companies?
I kind of have a question, not understanding pump stations. Will this improve the water quality at our fire hydrants? I mean, not the quality, but the pressure.
The pressure. Sam, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I would not expect this to improve the water pressure. The Green Mountain Falls system is basically, the pressure is based on the tank level up at the top of Hondo Avenue. There's the big tank sitting up there. And this
Okay.
pump station just pumps up to that tank. So that won't change substantially, I would say.
Okay, thank you.
And, oh, sorry, go ahead, Lisa.
Can I ask you what's being pumped up there? I mean, is it
It's
Sewage?
potable water.
Okay.
So
Sorry, I
from,
should have given a little more explanation. So the,
from the local homes or?
it's to the storage tank at the end of Hondo.
Right, but
And
where's,
then, so,
uh-huh.
oh, yeah, sorry, Sam, if you want to explain maybe more of the system
Yeah.
dynamics there.
Sure. So this is a project with Colorado Springs Utilities, who's the water provider for Green Mountain Falls. So they're taking basically potable water from the treatment plant, which I believe sits across the valley, and pumping it up to the storage tank at the top of the hill. And then that storage tank is above all the homes, or above many of the homes. So it feeds back from that storage tank to the homes. So it's basically providing the potable water source for those homes.
And so the current pump station that's been operating is at the corner of like Park and Spruce.
Spruce
It's
and
on a
Mountain.
very small little corner there in that residential area with that steep hill going down. That's been in operation since 1986 and so has reached its end of its useful life. And so they're proactively replacing it. And so, yeah, so the water comes from whatever source down into the treatment plant that's up above the sky space there, then comes back down, goes into the pump station, that gets pumped up to the storage tank. That gives the water pressure for the town and distributes to the town.
Good.
So why not put the new one in the same location as the old one? Why are we choosing a new location?
The old site is an easement, I believe, and I think it's basically completely taken over by the existing pump station, which is an underground structure. So there really just isn't room on that site, and to try to take the old one out and put the new one in isn't feasible, just with the logistics of having to, continue providing water throughout the duration of the project.
How long will this new project take?
I believe
This one, Sam, this is Larissa. I'm sorry, Commissioners. This is Larissa, the project manager from Colorado Springs Utilities. We're planning to complete the project with commissioning of pump station by the end of 2023. Now, our original plan was to start working on it in October. We had some delays in signing the agreement with the homeowner. So we are looking to start construction here in several weeks, and then probably completed by September, October of 2023, and then use the remainder of the time to commission the pump station to make sure it operates properly.
Will there be any issues with blocking streets, passage through this area? Is that going to be a problem during construction?
We don't anticipate that. We're working with Nate, actually try to figure out a staging area to where we're not in the way, where we can store our materials and have a trailer and so forth, because as you know, it's really, really tight. Now, as we are putting the pipe in the ground down Hondo Avenue, there could be potential some closures and reroutes on that road, but we're trying to minimize the disruption and then work with the town, apply for permits and everything else, and then make sure that we have a reroute plan to where it's not just causing a lot of disruption to the traffic.
Commissioners, other questions?
Yeah, this is Rocco Blasi. I saw on one of the plans, a potential equipment staging either at the pool or across the street from the pool. If this construction is going to last until October 2023, that's a concern that I have, that the materials are not placed near the pool while the pool is open or across from the pool during our summer busy parking season. And so has town staff figured out some options on that?
We're still talking about that. The pool is, by far the best sort of, I don't know, isolated and flat and dedicated space. And I think there's talk about the pool not maybe even being open. So there's a lot of moving parts about things. And so it's kind of an ongoing, evolving situation. Need to talk more with Public Works about the Olathe area. Once the lake stuff is wrapping up, that'll free up some space there. But obviously, we have some more discussions to do before finalizing those. And hopefully, we have some flexibility during the summer, with some other spaces as well.
Nate, have y'all talked to the Giroux at all? They have that flat parking lot there off of Hondo that they own. I don't know if they'd be willing to lease that.
I have not. That's a good idea. I can talk to them to see if we can get a plan C or D.
It'd be pretty convenient to that area.
Yeah, Lamar, this is Rocco. I'm not in favor of using Olathe as a continued staging area. Our last town manager said that that would be kept clear of any maintenance or construction activity. It takes up valuable parking in the summer, and it sends a mixed message when we have people beautifying the triangle right there in the middle, and then we have slag heaps basically adjacent to that. I think it sends the wrong message.
Well, for an entire year, I agree. That's problematic. I don't know how much space they need, but the Giroux have a good bit of space there that's not being used. I'm sure they would expect to lease it or something, but.
There's a shortage of space everywhere, and even in the Public Works yard, and we're trying to plan ahead for more road base to, improve the roads situation. So that's part of the plan, is ordering more road base than we have in the past. So that obviously takes up more space, and that has to be segregated by type of road base as well. So it's not something that we have ample room to work with. So the Olathe spot is, for better or for worse, that's one of the spots that I believe will continue to be used. And so we can look at some private land options potentially, but need to have those further discussions with CSU and Dewberry and our Public Works staff here in the next week or two.
This is Lisa, and I also favor if we could figure an alternative out maybe. So it sounds like you're working on it, Nate. Thank you.
I had a question about noise, but I know that's been addressed in the staff report, so I appreciate town staff asking the questions and investigating the noise. It is in the staff report for the generator testing for about 15 minutes a month, up to 75 decibels, which is fairly loud. I would assume that would be in the interior of the building. Is that correct from a construction engineering point of view for the generator?
So the generator actually sits in an open topped enclosure adjacent to the building. Nate, I don't know if you have a drawing there.
Yeah, somewhere.
Is that?
I've got all the drawings, just a matter of finding them. Let's see.
And the generator is as a backup, correct, if you were to lose commercial power?
Correct. Yeah. If the pump station loses normal power, it'll switch over to generator power and the generator will kick on. The 15 minutes a month is just to exercise it to make sure the motor doesn't seize up sitting there. So yeah, to the right of the
Can you see that? Okay.
Yeah.
So
to
is
the
it,
right of the building there. Yep, that's the generator there. So that's an open topped enclosure. And then the building is the structure to the left there.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for navigating, Nate, and thanks for answering the question. So that's just as the backup and then monthly testing. Thank you.
Correct. Yeah.
Mike, do you have comments or questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Ann, any more comments or questions for you?
No, thank you. I've learned a lot. Thanks a lot.
Lisa, anything else?
No, thanks.
Rocco, you have more?
No, thanks. Good.
I've heard from at least, if I'm counting myself, 3 commissioners that are concerned about the Olathe. Are we able to maybe have a motion to approve this with the stipulation that we not use the Olathe property as staging?
Lamar, I have some wording that I could discuss when we're ready for the motion.
Why don't you, I guess we're ready. Everybody's made all the questions and comments. Why don't you go ahead and make the motion with the wording that you like?
And we're just recommending to the trustees since there's
Correct.
variances involved. So
Correct.
I move to recommend trustee approval of application 2022-0707 A through F, contingent on town staff finalizing a staging plan presented to the trustees.
And you don't want to stipulate that it not include Olathe?
Well, ultimately, the trustees will have to decide. We can express our concerns, but for the motion, I think the town staff need to finalize that and have it presented to the trustees for consideration.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Nate, if you need contact information for the Giroux, I can certainly provide that to you.
I have that. Thanks.
Sure.
And so Sam and Larissa, thanks for being here. The next step would be going to the Board of Trustees meeting next Tuesday night, at 7 o'clock instead of 6:30. And then could we perhaps circle back tomorrow regarding the staging areas tomorrow or the next day?
Sure, we could do that, Nate. We'll take any space that you have. We're not being picky. We just need space.
Right.
That's
Okay.
kind of, I mean, it's really, really tight there.
Yeah. Okay, I'll identify some of these options on a map and we can, should I talk with Sam or Larissa, or you, Larissa, or who? What's the best?
Doesn't matter, it
conversation?
could be both. I mean,
Okay.
Sam can help draw that up, so then we can use that as an exhibit to the agreement for the temporary staging area. So we could do both. We could do a phone call tomorrow, or we could do email, or Thursday. Any day would work, really.
Okay, I'll follow up with an email tonight and we can nail down a time for that.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Sam.
All right, are we ready to move on to old business? Our land use code. I've had comments sent to me by several of you. I've incorporated everyone's except Rocco may have had a few late ones to me, and then Lisa's. I want to reiterate our adoption timeline because it's changed a bit, and I wanted to answer some of the questions that y'all asked last time, our last meeting, and make sure that we talk about Austin's answers to these questions. So our summary list of public engagement comments to get back to Austin are due the 28th of this month. And then he asked that I not send each, whenever I make additions after each of these meetings, that kind of stuff. He does not want to see those. He wants to see a final copy that includes the commissioner's comments along with the public's comments and whatever we want to do with the public comments. So he just wants a final, something sent to him on the 28th. You guys had asked when he would be attending meetings. He plans to attend the December 9th meeting and the December 13th meeting. He will attend by both of those by Zoom. And yes, he plans in his presentation to provide the primary changes, the big changes. He plans to have a summary of that to present. Lisa and I had, along with town staff and the mayor today, had a brief meeting with Austin. We covered a few more of the things that we wanted that have come up that there were questions about or changes. He's going to work on this whole fencing, decking, that sort of thing. He's going to try to figure out when is it a brand new deck and when is it just repairs to a deck or a fence. And so he's going to have something that addresses that. The thought is maybe if you're replacing a certain percentage of the deck, that's a new deck. Otherwise, it's repairs. And this relates to the fire resistant materials.
Lamar, his term was what would trigger a redevelopment standard? Is that what he said? Yeah.
Yes, yes. And yeah, that segues with what Mike had been asking about. All of this only relates to new construction. We confirmed that again today with him, Mike. So yes. And so what Lisa's terminology that she just gave you, the redevelopment, is relating to repairs that go over a certain size with these decks and fencing so that we can decide how much of that constitutes redevelopment or new construction. So as y'all continue to read it, talk about it, I don't know if there's anything further that you want to discuss tonight or discuss with Rocco. You may have something that you want to have all of us talk about. or some of the rest of you may, so that I can add comments as you have them.
So I looked at the latest draft. Thank you for everyone involved in coordinating. I had an issue about the grading and when certain things were required. As a trail builder who works with the town on behalf of an agreement, a concern I had was if any trail building with hand tools would be under the requirement of the grading. I brought that up because the former town manager seemed to have an issue with that. And working with hand tools is a much less level of disruption, but also the town agreement with the current trail group doing the construction and maintenance on the trails talks about sustainability for erosion and drainage concerns. So I believe that's already addressed with the town agreement with the trail group. And then you just addressed talking about new versus repair when it comes to decks and fences. And so we'll wait and see what percentage Austin comes up with to trigger the redevelopment standard.
The comment I put in was exactly as you had, Rocco, and I think, specifically exempt trail building from any sort of requirements around grading.
Right, and it mentions the hand tools. I think that's a distinction to make. It's one thing to use power equipment or machinery. It's another thing to use human power. People are lazy, and so when we use hand tools, we want to reduce the level of disruption just out of laziness.
Wow. I have a question, Lamar, regarding the decks. Percentage of what?
Of the total,
Of materials?
No,
Of
of the size, we're talking about size, right?
yeah. Of the
Size.
So if you're putting new boards on, you'd have
Sure.
to, if you need 100 boards, if it was more than 25, it would be or whatever.
No, it's just the dimensions. You might, no matter what size your boards are.
So
So-
what
so-
is
But
the,
if you're repairing an old deck,
Mhm.
it's the same size, you don't have to worry about percentages.
Right, because
Well, the thought is that
same size is the same size.
if you are repairing an old deck and you replace 100% of it, that would be considered a redevelopment. Obviously, we've completely rebuilt the deck, and our goal is to get more and more decks in the town of Green Mountain Falls that are fire resistant. Because if you've seen those videos, those wooden decks just draw fire up into the house.
Well,
And
could
so-
people, I agree with you about what your goal is. So if they did it over time with their goal to be fireproof, but they were doing it slowly, it wouldn't be a total tear down and a total rebuild, right? Is that what I'm
Correct.
trying to drive at?
Correct, but our goal is to say, okay, if you're just truly repairing it, that's maybe 25% of your wood needs to be replaced. Then it would not be a redevelopment. If you're, and I'm picking a number out of the air, but for example, 25%. And if you're doing more than 25% of it, that we would call that a redevelopment and say, look, you really need to use fire resistant materials. And
Because you can buy decking, for instance, that's fireproof
correct.
right now. And if
Yes.
everything's stable and put that on, that would be a help anyway.
But would, and we could require any repairs to be a fire resistant material. We were just trying to maybe compromise with people.
Sure. Uh-huh.
Just want to replace a few boards. And do I wish they would use fire resistant materials? I do. But, and again, that's the whole, this is for the commissioners, the group of us to decide how we want to do this.
Sure. Well, thank you.
Something that pushes us in the direction of getting our homes hardened and fire resistant.
So I have looked at the International WUI code. It's very technical. I haven't seen a list of what materials they consider fire resistant. I know redwood is typically more resistant than some other woods. The California code is a little more clear on what's considered fire resistant. And so, as property owners want to fix a deck and they don't want to replace a deck, we need to come up with, we'll look at what Austin recommends and then figure out what percentage we think is good. But the International WUI code leaves something to be desired as far as like coming up with a shopping list of what is an acceptable material.
Rocco, thanks for the reminder. That's another thing we talked to him about today. And Lisa and I talked to him about making this maybe even part of the definition at the back with a list of acceptable materials, because just referencing the code isn't getting us where we need to be. We want something that's clear, easy to understand, so that people can see if I choose these materials, they are fire resistant. And so that's something that he's going to do as well. Rocco, thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing that. Thanks, Lamar.
Sure.
Isn't it going to be difficult though, if somebody wants to replace 25% of the boards on their deck and we make them do it with fireproof materials, and they have 25% of the boards at Trex and the rest of them original wood? It just seems like we're nitpicking and getting into way more than we need to.
Well, Mike, that's
Replace
why.
the whole thing, I can see it, but not if they're just replacing some boards.
Well, that's the whole point here, Mike, is that if they're replacing 25% or less, they can use whatever materials they would like. If they're doing minor repairs, that's the whole point of this. If they're doing minor repairs, we stay out of their business. If they are replacing, and again, I'm pulling a number out of the air, but let's say that they're, replacing more than 25%, come on, go ahead and, let's build a deck that's going to be fireproof. If you're going to do that much of it, you might as well do it right.
Lamar, can I just state that a little bit differently? So
Please.
it would be whatever amount of repair triggers that redevelopment standard. And he was going to determine that, find that out for us. So we don't know all that exactly yet.
Well,
we
even,
asked about it.
anything less than 100%, if you make somebody change the half the boards on their deck, 75% of the boards on their deck, I mean, that's basically making them replace the whole deck, whether they want to or not. And I think that's getting into other people's business way more than we need to. I mean, if they're going to replace the whole deck, sure, make them do it with fireproof materials. But if they're just changing out some boards that rotted, I just can't see forcing them to use something other than what they've got on the deck right now.
I agree.
That'll be something for us to think about and talk about. I appreciate that, Mike. I understand. It's really important that we move in the direction of getting fireproofing done. I mean, literally watch some of those videos. It's terrifying how the decks are the gateway to burning the entire house down. So it's, again, this is a group decision, and just give it some thought about what you think is reasonable. I mean, if somebody's replacing boards on 3/4 of their deck, come on, do the whole thing and do it right. So I think that's why we're talking about percentages. If there's no more discussion on that, Nate has highlighted water. Did you want to talk about that, Nate?
I just had a comment. I had an inquiry about a potential build on a site, and the guy was asking about water and all the utility stuff, and it just got me thinking. And I was just making sure that there was some sort of statement like this, because the guy was essentially talking about, well, could I just build a little seasonal cabin, tiny home cabin thing, and then just put a cistern on it, or something like that. And I hadn't reviewed the code enough. I assumed I basically told him that, no, you need to, connect to utilities, because I was pretty sure that was in there somewhere. But in reviewing this, the only place it says that is here under subdivisions. And so I don't know if we maybe just add something somewhere else, like for single, because you could build a single home dwelling or a structure without, you can build a dwelling without it being a subdivision. So I was just thinking maybe that should be somewhere else specified, because I don't think we want people. Why?
What page
Hold on.
are you recommending that we have it?
Yeah, go back.
What's that? Well, I don't know. I think under, I guess it'd be like a site, it'd essentially be a site plan, or, if someone's coming in to build a new structure, then I guess the question is, even if it's not a subdivision, if it's just one single family home on a vacant lot right now, don't we want to make them connect to Colorado Springs utilities for water? I don't know. That's the question, I guess.
So Lamar, I think the mayor would like to input here.
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, the house just down from us, there's a new little greenhouse that went up just after ours. They could not connect to city water because of, they couldn't get access. And so they had to put in a potable water tank, and they have to have water brought in, and they use that.
So they
So
do
that
that.
would prevent that, and that
Okay.
would limit potential development in the town.
Okay. Well, that's good. I wasn't aware that situation occurred, so I guess that answers that question.
Todd, let me clarify that. So this is to the actual house or just to the greenhouse?
No, that was to the house. Their house does not connect up to CSU. They have a big, it's a tank the size of basically the size of the
Like a
initial septic tank. But it's a different type of plastic. It's blue. So it has to be they have to haul in water and they have to use that water. It's a potable water tank.
Is that on the
Here's-
downside hill of Hondo? Is that?
Well, no, that's over by me.
That's not-
If you
that's
keep
over
going
by
around
you.
Iona.
Okay,
Yeah, there's a new little green cottage. And they have a potable water tank.
okay.
So here's another example of maybe devil's advocate as well. Our neighbor on Hondo has a well. And he doesn't have a need to connect to public water because he's got his own well back there. And again, was that grandfathered? Probably, but let's say you do have a water well on your property. Are we going to still require that you hook up to city water?
Apparently not.
Yeah, I don't know the answer. I just wanted to point that out. And if so, this statement, all new development shall connect.
Right.
I don't know if that is, in light of this discussion, is that too broad, even though it's only under the subdivision section? Could that be construed to apply to a single family home development? Do we need to change this sentence?
That's a good
Um,
point, Nate.
Nate, what page is that?
25.
25.
In section,
Oh, let's see,
It's 2, 4.
yeah, it's under subdivision, then 9 subdivision standards, then C 2-4
Yeah, C 2, 4, right?
Yeah, especially for this town.
or C,
Mhm.
yeah, 2-4. Too many layers of bullets.
So let's, thank you, Nate, for pointing that out. Let's have some discussion. What does everybody think about that?
I think we should continue to grandfather in homes that have the wells. I know of one home and it's on Hondo. The only property above them is public land between them and the summit of Mount Rebecca. You get out into the county, if you're gonna have a well, they require a minimum, I think, of 5 acres to develop with a well. But we do have some that I don't think we should penalize. I think if we potentially change the wording to any new subdivision shall connect to the town water supply system, it makes it very clear what we're referencing.
I like it.
Makes
This
sense.
is in the subdivision section, so technically it already says that, but we could definitely add that additional word. Make it clearer. Is there anybody that disagrees with that or have a better suggestion?
No, I
No.
agree.
It's good.
Okay. So I'll add the word subdivision to that. And that's not a requirement we want to make of any single homes, it doesn't sound like.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of the cistern. That makes sense. Of, you just can't get a pipe through wherever, rock or whatever slope you're dealing with. Okay. The only other, I just wanted to mention this before I forgot, but I did include this parcel square footage map. And so I didn't know if you wanted to talk about the dimensional standards, because right now, our minimum development is basically, I forgot what we settled on for the business zone, but for residential zone, it's 5,000. And as you can see here, the reddish color indicates all the lots that are below 5,000, 3,000 to 5,000. And then the hashes here should indicate vacant parcels. So I don't know that that's 100% accurate. That was from a layer that the firm that did the comp plan put together. So I haven't verified all those, but it's kind of interesting because I feel like anything it looks like most, if not all, of the parcels that are between 3,000 and 5,000 are not vacant. I'm sure there's a couple in there, but indicating that they already have some structure on them, therefore they wouldn't be really affected. I guess.
If they got torn down and rebuilt, they would be, right?
Right, true. So, anyway, so that was just kind of I didn't know if necessarily wanted to jump to that now. I just wanted to mention it before I forgot.
I have something on that topic. Can you tell me what page that is in this 197 page
It's
agenda?
the last page.
Okay, I'm on a page that I don't want to move from.
Yeah.
So Lamar, my comment was on page 13.
Wait, before we jump away from what Nate just.
Well, it has to do with the size of the lot
Okay.
size thing.
Okay,
And I can just read it, since we're looking at that little map.
Oh, do you want to look at the map while you read it? Okay.
You can, leave it. No, do you have
Leave
to,
the map.
do you have to go to page 13? Don't go to page 13.
Okay.
No, it was just one of for accessory dwelling units. This code says accessory dwelling units shall only be permitted on lots greater than 2,000 square feet. And I think that number should be changed. When we look at these lots, a lot that is 2,000 square feet is, what did I say, 45 by 45 feet? And it's small. And I can't imagine having a secondary dwelling unit, not a shed, a dwelling unit on that property. So I think it's kind of building these tiny homes and doing that kind of thing. I don't I think that we should increase that to 4,000 or 5,000 square feet on that page 13. And when I guess this just gives me an eyeball view of the size of the parcels. But I just visually, for me, I think building a secondary home or an accessory, that's what accessory dwelling unit means, right? On your property, that's that teeny, they would be on top of each other. And you would have no room for parking. So anyway,
Can you read that?
The
again?
only thing I agree with you is that's way too small, but the only thing I can think of is if there was room for, say, a garage and you did a garage apartment above the garage, that could be a secondary dwelling unit, you know, and you haven't taken up any more room than your garage have.
okay, that's a tricky one, but yeah. it's on
Just a
page-
thought.
Yeah, it's on
Nevertheless,
page 13.
yeah, let me,
But then you're saying people could build up to get in that extra rental space, you know, add another layer on top of their, whatever it is, but it's on page 13 under E,
and give me the, yeah, section. and
accessory
everything.
uses and structures and temporary uses. I, accessory dwelling unit. Accessory dwelling units shall only be permitted on lots greater than 2,000 square feet.
So what do we want to change that to, commissioners?
So if you, I don't think it's in a table. I was trying to figure out a table, but I didn't see the table. It used to be in a table.
The original we received from Austin was not permitted on lots greater than 3,000 square feet. shall they
Right.
be permitted. So it went from 3,000 down to 2,000.
Right. Which might have caught my eye, but I
That
think it
was
should
the
be greater
original.
than 3,000 even. I was trying to do the square root of all these things, like just visualize how many. I don't know what the square root of 3,000 feet is, but I mean, it's not a very big lot to build a secondary home on. So I think 5,000. That would be my suggestion.
Anybody disagree with that?
What is it now? Do we have it? Didn't we move it back because it was 2,000? And he made it at 3?
I don't know what the old one is. Our current land use code, you mean?
I can look that up, but the only one I remember this commission talking about decreasing was the size of a commercial.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't,
Commercial minimum, but
regardless of what it already says, I'm looking at the visual and the actual situation.
You're thinking of
Stated
more
here.
of what it would look like rather than how many people were there particularly.
Oh, I wasn't even getting into how many people, but
Because
if you're that's building a secondary home, a dwelling unit, and I can't even go there, how many people you're gonna stuff into it. That's not what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about actually all these small tiny lots having an additional home on them, basically. So next to the primary home.
I don't think that's too important personally, but I
Well,
hadn't really thought about it.
Well, the tiny home thing is certainly an issue.
Well, and I'm not saying tiny home, quote unquote. It would have to be small because you don't have any land. I mean, it just would be small.
Yeah.
But like a little cottage or another cabin or
Yeah.
whatever. But it's for dwelling, so it's a home. And I don't,
I think it really does, like, I can visualize it better with the map that Nate provided.
Mhm.
And
That's why I
so,
saw that.
I think that threshold of 2,000 or 3,000 is potentially too small, and I wouldn't be opposed to establishing that at a 5,000 square foot threshold.
As a minimum, right? Yeah.
and this is accessory dwelling, not,
Accessory dwelling,
okay.
not a
So you
shed or
could still
something.
have a garage.
Yeah, no.
as
It's
an
an accessory
accessory.
dwelling unit. And it must not contain more than 1,000 square feet of gross floor area. It goes on from there. You can only have one per lot. I think that's a good thing. I can't imagine surrounding your house with a bunch of little, anyway.
This
And-
is for new
Our
Right.
whole land use code is for new, yes.
Yeah. Or like, you know, Lamar said, if someone comes in, like, you know, tears down a cabin that, or whatever, you know, and starts fresh and some, you know, then at that point they're.
They'd have to maybe buy 2 or 3.
Okay, do that next.
So,
While we're on the- Okay, go ahead.
So I'm just reiterating my comments so that everybody can hear them and just see if there's any, we need to hash all this out before we present it, the final to Austin. I was reading his emails again today. He's like, he wants us all to talk about the issues that we have and then be sure that we agree with them. So that's why I brought it up. So can we say 5,000 then? I mean, is that okay? with
does
you
everybody
guys?
agree with that? 5,000?
Okay. And then I've got my notebook open with the pages and Mike wants to
I've got
address a
Couple
couple
questions
on-
on page 12 and 13.
in the same area, same
Uh,
page of the,
On page 12, D double I, you've got wind energy conversion systems and ground mounted WEC located on single lots should be set back. Why would we even allow a wind energy system in town? I mean, we want one of those big windmills sitting beside us?
is that what it is?
Okay, so it's page 12.
Page 12, D double I.
Yeah.
And we're talking about what kind of wind energy, whatever it is, wind energy conversion system. We talking about a windmill? And if we are, do we want any windmills inside this town?
No, it would knock all the leaves off the trees and kill the.
Well, kill birds and make noise and everything else. I mean,
Right.
those are usually out in the plains someplace.
It's 1.1 times the.
If
Good
that's what we're
point.
talking about, I wouldn't be in favor of having any of them in town anywhere.
I think these are smaller ones that are, it says, I don't know if they have to be on a horizontal axis, but it says, it talks about ones that are, so I think there's smaller ones that are more, they're not like the giant.
Right, it mentions
Vertical.
some that spin on a horizontal axis.
Mhm. And then, yeah,
I don't
you
know. I
read-
think they're
read
making
out
them
down.
smaller where they're, yeah.
Have a height of 100 feet.
I've never seen one in a residential area. I
Well,
can't imagine.
And if it was a height of 100 feet, the setback would have to be 1.1 times the total height of the WEX. So where's that
That'd be-
gonna go?
Yeah.
So
Should we just remove that? Should we ask him to remove it?
I think the rules as written would prohibit it from any parcel except for like
Well, it's under
the lar-
commercial.
the
though,
really
too.
large ones.
I don't know if it would prohibit it, it would prohibit a tall one.
Right. Yeah, which
So-
then makes it worthless, right?
I don't know, we don't know.
It's
Based on
under,
the technology, we don't
Yeah.
know, so. Right, I think there's value to keeping the wording in there
Mhm.
if the situation and the technology catches up to our topography.
Yeah, there you go.
Are there other stipulations we would want to put on this? In, you know,
Thanks for noticing that. I don't even understand. I mean,
I don't understand it
Wow.
either. And I thought, I drive out through.
well, it's like, it
Countryside.
says here, utility, communication, energy uses. So maybe the utility company, I don't know, it may be. And that's the heading it's under. Solar collectors, which may happen, but then wind energy.
Yeah, I don't.
Anyway,
Until I see one operate, I wouldn't want one in town, certainly near me. Because I've seen the big ones out in the country and they're noisy and they,
mhm.
you
they
just
kill a
wouldn't
lot of
want one-
birds.
Yeah, I know.
So Lamar, as I'm looking at this before, I mean, he's got another point, but we're under subheading D, utility, communication and energy uses. And then indents and dense. And now under that same heading, oh no, E, okay, I'm sorry. I thought it was under the same one. I got confused. All right, it's a whole different heading. I thought, God. All
All
right,
right.
and
then on page 13, paragraph E6, recreational vehicles may not be used as accessory dwelling units. I just have a question. can we park a camper in our driveway? Even though they
Yeah.
can't be used as a dwelling unit, we
Yeah.
can still park them in
Yeah,
the
this
driveway.
is about dwelling, like
Yeah.
Yeah,
you can't live out there.
right.
I don't think that's restricted anywhere in here. I think
Okay.
at one point there was a length restriction, but somehow
Yeah.
that disappeared. I don't
The
know.
last I heard, it was like 20 feet or 18 feet or something like that.
Yeah, it was something weird, like 23 feet or. Yeah,
So if
and I don't
you,
think that still exists in our code.
so if you park your recreational vehicle in your driveway and your in-laws come and spend a couple of nights, that's not okay, is that correct?
Although I think that's okay. You're not building an accessory. I mean.
I guess
no.
it depends on what the definition of dwelling is.
And how long you're dwelling, how long is she gonna stay? I mean,
You can't use it as a short-term rental. We know that.
Yeah,
I think we can get too caught up in that. Yeah,
I think dwelling would indicate like
a home.
long-term or something. but-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
thank you.
yeah, I wonder if that's defined.
Also on page 13, while we're there, three eyes.
I flipped, sorry.
Okay.
Let's go back.
home occupations.
Yeah, why in the world would we limit somebody to one employee? And aren't we, again, getting way into somebody else's business we don't need to get into? If
No,
I'm
li-
if I'm a
living with you.
CPA and I have a little office in my home, and during tax season, I want to have 2 or 3 people come in and help me, why would the city tell me I can't do that?
It's residing.
Where is it?
I think it implied at the bottom of 13 and then just a few lines down. I think it means residing. Home occupation shall not involve internal, not normally
It says,
found.
other than a family
Member.
member of the family residing in the dwelling, only one outside employee may be engaged in the home
And-
occupation.
In the home, that
That's-
means occupying the home, like living there. That's how I read it.
Oh, I read it as you can't have more than one employee,
No,
period.
I'll clarify it, Mike. I'll clarify it with him.
All right.
let's look under home occupation.
And then on page 14, we have, on V, page 14.
Short-term rentals.
Yeah, it says fire pits should be prohibited. Why wouldn't pits be prohibited for everybody in town, not just short-term rentals?
There's a lot of people that have wood burning fire pits who've installed like a spark protector or things that make them safe. And I think the thought process was that these are already in existence and that the homeowners know how to use them safely. And that short-term rental people, I think there's a lot of fear about them coming in, they're clueless
Mhm.
how to use
Fire situation.
a fire pit safely.
Okay. On,
Sorry, real quick on that. We might want to just ask Austin's or Becky, or at least have a conversation, because there's been a lot of talk about in the short-term rental code about not treating short-term rentals differently than other, than everyone else in town. So I don't know.
I'll ask about it, Nate.
So I think the mayor would like to weigh in. Before he does, I would just like to say, from a risk management standpoint,
Maybe you're right.
I think it's appropriate to treat short-term rentals differently from people who live here year-round from a risk management standpoint. Look at car insurance for a teenage boy
Mhm.
compared to an adult. The insurance companies weigh the risk. And I think
Yeah.
we as a town need to weigh the risk that
No, I
a
agree.
short-term rental occupant may be ignorant of the dangers of the area that our full-time residents are fully aware of. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Becky and I actually are having this, some preliminary discussions about whether, the recreational fire pit is what we're calling it. And the reason we're having to call that call it that, is if you get into anything cooking, then we get into a different set of issues. So yeah, we've been having some preliminary discussions on it, nothing set yet, but it may result in something that we recommend at a board of trustees level for the whole town. Don't know yet.
Well, a
we have had- we
recreational
have-
fire pit doesn't have any screen over it or anything else, or any I've seen doesn't. So I think if we're going to prohibit those, we got to prohibit them in the whole town.
Well,
Period.
and it gets into, is it just wood? Is it gas? Is it this? Is it that?
Yeah, well,
So
we've
there's a
got,
whole laundry.
we got propane. But the wood burning, where you throw wood in or whatever, I think those, the sparks fly, and I think they ought to be prohibited, whether it's. a
But maybe not
short-term
in a
rental
land
or a-
use code. That could be an ordinance or something else,
Yeah,
right?
it may actually
Yeah.
be,
Yeah.
it depends on
Could
if
be
we end up
addressed
applying it
separately.
broad brush across
Yeah.
town or not.
I still don't understand that. We'll see.
So I
just
guess-
wanted to give you a heads up on that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess the question would be though, we've got our language in the code here in the land use code, and it's kind of contingent upon where the trustees are thinking about going. So is that a discussion the trustees will have before the land use code gets voted on?
The land use code will come before that discussion on the trustees would be my thought, unless because we have a laundry list of other codes that we may get into, but I wouldn't anticipate the other laundry list to be approved until at least the latter part of almost the very end of this calendar year.
Okay, so we'll just press on with the wording here, which is the use of outdoor wood burning fire pits shall be prohibited for all short-term rentals. That's what's written.
Okay with that?
I'm good with that.
I'm good with
But
it.
Mike, what's your input?
Well, I just think if it's bad for them, it ought to be bad for the whole town.
I agree with Michael. So,
I mean, we're worrying about changing the boards on a deck for fire prevention purposes. Why wouldn't we be worried about outdoor fire pits and outdoor fireplaces and so forth? I don't know that there's any real safe ones around, that maybe there are, but if it's bad for a short-term rental, it probably is bad for the rest of the town.
So
Yeah.
do you recommend striking that requirement for short-term rentals?
I recommend just changing it to, there shouldn't be no fire, and maybe they ought to
That's
deal
not
with.
a land use code issue.
Okay.
right, he was just, he agrees. He was just expressing his
One way or the other,
comment, opinion.
and maybe the Board of Trustees deals with it in the ordinances, but
Right.
Somewhere seems to me if we're worried about the boards on a deck, we ought to be worried about outdoor burning of wood and so forth.
Okay, but you have another one.
Yeah, I have one more question on the
Page 21.
Page 21, D2I. We got parking spaces 15 feet. I don't think that's enough. I mean, my F-150 is 18 feet long. I don't know too many cars except my Model A's and maybe our Kia that are only 15 feet long. So we may want to lengthen that a little bit.
What would you recommend?
Well, I'd go 18
20,
feet.
or-
That's 18 or 20 because most pickups, especially if you have an 8-foot bed, is going to be 20 feet at least.
So
I'd go 18 or 20.
20 feet? 18, which do you want?
20. Nice round numbers.
8 feet wide is fine, but
And the
15
width
feet
is a-
long is not.
Then the hitch could stick out a little bit or
Yeah.
something, or the bike rack.
Okay. Anybody disagree with that?
No. Nate, you gotta change your clock. I freaked out.
I'll add all these comments and I'll probably send it to all of y'all, but it won't be going to Austin until we have everything collated.
That'd be great. Thanks, Lamar.
The other comment I had on that same section would be section 3I2. Says.
Wait, 3I2.
I two.
Just below it.
Right below that last comment on page 21, it says, for all other uses in all other zoning districts, off-street parking areas shall not be located between the front building facade and the adjacent street frontage. Well, in some of our properties, that's the only space you have to park a car.
Well, this is for new.
Is this only for new?
This is for new.
And if it is, with some of the lots like they are, they still presents a problem.
Other zoning.
What would you recommend?
I'd recommend just taking it out because it seems to be an unreasonable requirement.
Front building and adjacent street. Does that mean you can't park it in the front yard? Are we talking about between the facade of the front and the?
Between the front of the house and the street.
And the street?
And that's the
Yeah, so
only
like-
place to park in a lot of
so
the
like your
properties.
yard.
And, you know, even if you're building a new house, it may
Well-
be your only option.
But you know what, for fire safety, I mean, then, you know, like Chief Murphy said, you can't get to the house if you've got a car right in front of it.
Well, the house is
It's gonna
probably
be-
more
it's
than
a
15
safety-
feet long.
Well, I don't know, but safety issue. So this is for new
Okay.
also, right?
We're still getting into too much detail, but.
Yeah.
that's all right.
Adjacent street frontage. Is that the actual street
Yeah, that's what I think.
in front of the house or building?
Yeah. Like you're parking it right in the yard, you know, like by the front door.
I don't entirely understand that whole thing.
That's how I see it, but I don't know.
I mean, for our business parking, you kind of have to do it though.
For so above it, it says for single family and duplex dwellings in all districts, off-street parking shall be located in a garage or on a something driveway. And then for all other uses, so we're not talking about single family or duplex and all other zoning districts. So, designated parking, I'm sure it's like for designated parking.
I mean, you've got it, all our business district, you're parking in front of the building facade.
Yeah, but you're in the street. You're in the parking area there. Oh, I see what you mean. Well. Huh,
And the street's right there, so.
you could ask him to, yeah. Yeah, I guess that does
I
make
guess
sense.
I think of it as like a front yard, like. if you're
Yeah,
parking
yeah,
within the-
but but like in front of the Mucky Duck, she's right. So there's the front of the building, because this could be in all other zoning, a commercial, and then there's a car, and then there's the street, so it's in between the two. So, but, or I wonder, well,
I
but
think it's
actually, or an easement, or it's in the street, right? It's
I'm with
street
Mike.
parking,
I'm with
think
Mike.
it's
I kind
necessary.
of question that paragraph.
Yeah.
okay.
Say that again, Rocco, I didn't hear you.
Sorry, Lamar. I agree with Mike. I think that's a valid question about even keeping that. What's the purpose?
Yeah,
What does Austin intend by that?
I agree with Mike and Rocco.
thanks
Okay.
for being on here, that's helpful. Yeah, that's good.
Well, I'll tell him we'd like it removed unless he can give us an argument for a really good reason for it.
The other question I have is just down below that in 4.1. Says traffic control signs and or striping shall be provided within all parking areas as necessary to minimize vehicular and pedestrian conflicts. We got a lot of gravel streets. How are we going to stripe a gravel street? I think that's an unreasonable request.
Well, we wouldn't, if so, we would do the traffic control
I
sign,
suppose you could put up a
and
sign.
it just
but-
means go slow. Or put up a little pedestrian crossing thing or whatever.
Just a comment, that's no big deal, but as many streets as we have that aren't paved, we're not gonna see much
Mhm.
striping.
Mm-mm.
I think that's a good point too. Why print it in there just to take up space?
Well, and we're really not going to put traffic control signs either around.
Well, and this might be for, you know, to protect us from litigation or something if someone gets hurt. I don't know. I don't know why. Because he's, you know, he does repeat often that these things have to be in here so that we're not breaking a law.
Okay, so I can ask him about that.
Yeah.
And then as a general comment, when we get into page 8 on signs, it just seems like we have way too much detail and it's very prescriptive. And I don't know why we're worrying so darn much about signs.
Right. There's a whole page.
Yeah,
Still,
page
it's
detail.
smaller than it
So-
was. And I think that's what we discussed, but it's still really big.
Just as an aside, I'll say, you know, when they put in all the stop signs at corners, that was because too many trees had grown there and you couldn't see. But if you keep it clear enough that you can see, you certainly don't need to be told to stop.
Now, what page is the sign?
We're still on page 21. He accidentally,
Where's all the
page
Oh,
8.
okay, gotcha.
It was
Okay.
on,
It's number 8 at the bottom of page 21.
All right, yeah, I see.
number 8.
so section 8 is just all about a
And then
whole
it
bunch of little
starts.
prescriptive stuff about signs, which seem to me to be
Four
way
page-
too much
4 pages. almost.
detail and prescription on signs.
Well, just 2.5.
So Austin's comment is, as written, this section allows a certain number and type of signs by right. There is no approval process or permit required. I think he was just trying to explain
Uh-huh.
why he left it in or what, but I don't know, but it makes sense to me, but.
Well,
Ask if he feels like this is really necessary. I mean, I guess if you have nothing, people can put up whatever signs they want to, and it could keep you from, it could obscure your vision at an intersection. It could, you know, you could have a lot of problems. I assume that that's why he's doing this.
I agree with keeping what we have. We have pared down some of the paragraphs, the sub-paragraphs. I think it's pretty clear, but it's only as good as the enforcement. So it boils down to the enforcement as
yeah.
well. But I'm glad we have something related to signs, and this is shorter than what we used to have.
Any other comments from commissioners about this sign section?
I agree with Rocco.
Okay.
We're done whining. We're whining about it.
Then I just one more comment. It's a picky comment, but I'll make it anyway. Back up on table 2, which is the bottom on page 5, under the PUD section,
Okay, hang on, let me do it. Hang on.
page 5.
All right, just a
Article 2.
minute. I have to scroll a bunch, hang on. Page
Sorry to skip you around.
5, okay.
All right, it says under the PUD district is intended to encourage imaginative concepts in urban design. Do we need that part of the sentence? I mean, that doesn't seem consistent with a little historic town where we want to keep the culture, and I don't know that we want to encourage imaginative urban design.
This is around our comprehensive plan. We are mountain town, but we're also, there's a focus on arts and trying to address some of the things that people asked for with the comprehensive plan in this language. And he also wanted to be sure it's around encouraging and not making anybody do anything.
Okay,
That's probably.
That was already, I believe, a compromise.
okay.
I know it annoys you, Mike,
It does.
but he did explain, and I think he changed it some for us as well. you were probably not one of the people with the comprehensive plan that was asking for this.
Well, it's been a while since I looked at the comprehensive plan, but my impression was that they wanted to keep the flavor of the town and the historic and the cultural aspects of the town instead of
Sure.
making it an urban center.
I agree, Mike, because my husband and I participated in that comprehensive plan. And you'd be amazed at how few people actually participated. Very few.
They gave us the numbers. I was thinking it was pretty good participation in the actual comprehensive plan.
Yeah, I disagree. We had a big turnout at Sally.
Yeah, yeah.
They were
No, but
there,
I mean
they were
when
there
they,
at Bronc Day. The number and the outreach and the surveys.
but
We
would
got
you look,
it was a represented group. I think there were 6 rounds of public outreach.
well,
You may be
when we had it,
thinking,
when we
and
had
of
it here in this building, you know, and you were going around
Sorry.
as it builds up.
I'm on page 5, I think.
they got input a lot of different ways. It wasn't just verbal here in person. You may be thinking of another survey or something. We had some surveys that were not well participated, but the comprehensive plan had strong participation. Okay, Mike, anything else? Lisa, anything else?
No, I guess I'll give up.
Well, did you say me or just Mike?
Lisa, are you ready?
Okay. Well, yeah, that's all I really had, but before, as I'm at home looking at this by myself, many times the mayor has suggested, please look at the site plan, the minor site plan, the minor and the major, the minor and the major, and I look at it and go, okay, what does all this mean? Can we discuss that a little bit too? Because I don't know that we've really talked about that, and what are the concerns? And Todd, do you have some concerns?
Talked about it last meeting, and then I had comments. I thought that I sent to Austin regarding that. Todd, do you recall, or Nate?
Yeah, I thought I saw comments in your latest file,
Yeah.
Okay.
basically
Alright.
where you're eliminating 2 of them and then adding decks. And yeah, if that's what you want to proceed forward with, then yeah, go for it. I had a concern because it looked like it might be a little too broad in some areas and didn't include some other things that we typically have, like 30 to 40% of the activity that comes in front of the commission is like, decks, fences, stuff like that. And so
Okay.
I think those were the things that we were originally,
Oh, okay.
we were looking at seeing if we
Gotcha.
could just move over to have that go to staff instead of coming from planning commission.
Okay, I'll look at it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's marked up to remove the commercial development, any commercial development for minor site plan. And then the line that says contains 5 dwelling units or less. So basically any residential development or commercial development will come before planning commission. And then add a new deck or alteration of deck. I think that did it.
Okay, I see it now.
What page is that on?
35, 34 and 35. I see highlights in this particular iteration I'm looking at. Let's go to,
The minor subdivision is a different topic, and that still has a minor still says condominiumization of units within an existing building. And so I think that's all still fine, isn't it? The minor site plan was what you had more concern about, I think. Okay.
Have we covered your concerns, Todd, or no?
Yeah, my concerns were with minor site plans. I didn't really focus in on minor subdivisions.
And we're treating minor subdivisions and major subdivisions the same as far as review. The only difference is minor subdivisions don't require a preliminary and final plat. They just have one application. Then the major subdivisions require a preliminary plat approval and then a final plat approval.
Okay.
So that's the difference there.
And that's probably defined. Are you reading definitions in the back?
That's on a table, the table of
Are you reading
review
the table? Okay,
procedures.
so it's defined on the table.
And then there's a minor subdivisions section that says what are minor subdivisions.
Okay.
So I think
As I'm
that's-
looking at this minor site plan, C right there, it says a minor site plan is required for the following activities. Construction of accessory structures of less than 200 square feet. Shouldn't it be larger than?
No,
Only if they're tiny, otherwise we don't want to know.
so if that's pretty much the same limit that Pikes Peak Regional Building has. So if you're doing like a shed that's under
Right.
200 square feet, then you would have to come to it would have to go to Planning Commission, and it would have to go to Pikes Peak Regional for inspection. But if it's less than 200 square feet, then it's staff approval, no.
And
Pikes
that's
Peak
what the minor
Regional.
site plan, oh, okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
And then we had noted to add add decks to this, to minor site plan.
And so the language for the decks is construction of a new deck or alteration of an existing deck. By alteration, does that mean changing the footprint? Doesn't mean repairing, correct?
Well, that's what we're trying to determine, I think.
Yeah, with the other,
Our intent was changing the footprint, I think.
Or a certain percentage.
so
of-
there's, right, there's no
repair.
deck mentioned here in this iteration that in your agenda.
Just
so-
the comment, there's a little comment there that has,
There
it
is?
says to add it. It's on the first line where it says,
A minor site
minor
plan?
site
Oh,
plan.
add a new deck. Oh, sorry.
Do we want to include fencing with that?
it says fence, construction of sign fence or retaining wall.
Okay, I thought we had.
Okay, thank you. Your turn. No?
Okay, so I believe unless we have more discussion, we've come to our public comment section of our meeting at 8:06 p.m. So we are ready to listen to public comment.
No one's here. Everyone left. Joe Olds is still online. I don't know if we could invite him to comment, but otherwise, there's no one.
Okay,
Let's see. Wait. Oh, no, I thought Joe unmuted himself. He did not. Sorry.
Okay. So, yeah, commend the planning commission on what you got so far. Technically speaking, you know, I think even in its current form, we could potentially even go to press with it. We know, of course, there's minor tweaks, but I think you're well on your way. Really appreciate the effort you've put in, and anxious to see the final product.
Well,
so we,
thank you, Todd and Nate, for all your support and help with getting us through this process. We really appreciate it. And I also commend the commissioners. Y'all have done a great, this has been excellent teamwork, and I really appreciate each of you for spending the time that you've spent on this. So our next meeting is
It'll be the 22nd on Thanksgiving week is, I don't know if I have any, I don't have any applications on I can't remember what the schedule said from Austin.
Well, that's our next public meeting.
Oh, right. We did publish it as public comment, so.
Yeah, so this is the 22nd public meeting. Our second one that we're required to have tonight is one, and that will be our second one.
Was
And-
that in the Courier? I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it was in the Courier.
Today?
No, it was, let me look here.
Last week.
Lamar, I probably will not be able to be on the 22nd. We're going to be traveling and I'm not sure I'm going to be in a place where I can get online.
Okay, Mike,
If I am, I will, but if I'm not, you know why.
I do. And if you think of anything in the meantime, Mike, just feel free to shoot me an email
Okay.
and let me know. And I'm just, putting all these comments together.
So Lamar, basically on the 22nd, that'll be the last time that we hash through this as a group formally.
Correct. And
Certainly hope so.
have all our comments to him by the 28th.
And that was published on November 2nd. Last Wednesday.
And I'll
Sorry, I forgot what we decided on the dimensional standards. I'm still hung up on that, probably because I made such a nice map, but do we want to leave the 5,000 square foot minimum development?
yes. The accessory,
No, for all development, any development. That's what it says.
um,
So all those red parcels on the map would not be able to do anything if they, well, I guess they could apply for a variance, I guess.
one of my very first notes to him was to include all these different sizes. And if his drafts have still not included that, I'll be sure and remind him of it. But that was something very early on we decided, because we do have these small parcels.
And also the setbacks are,
To be commensurate with them.
yeah, they're basically the same as what they are now. Well, sort of. The bigger lots have actually a larger front setback as written,
Yeah.
and a larger rear. So I think we
Well,
talked.
I was thinking we took it back to what it originally had with those 3 different sizes and the commensurate setbacks.
He divided it into, here, I'll get to the page. It's
By the way, we just ended our public part of our meeting.
oh yeah. 8:10, sure. So anyway, that's how they are written now.
With the R1. That's right. That's how he did it, with lots that are less than 10,000 square feet. So how does this differ from what it previously had been?
I don't have it, y'all.
So
What
R1.
page is that on?
It's 152 of the packet. It's page 14 of the code. So now there's a 15-foot front setback for everything. And then the smaller parcels under 10,000 have a 5-foot side setback, and then it increases to 10. And the rear, I think, is the same. The only thing that changes now between lot sizes is the side setback.
Well, the rear one as well, from 10 to 20.
No, I'm saying on the current code, I think is.
Oh, okay. It's the very same as our current code.
Oh, okay.
Is that what you're saying?
No, I was saying something different, but I'm going to verify it here. So,
Oh, yeah, minimum frontage 100 feet.
so this is for the
No, but that's for religious. No, that's for.
the 5,000. We'll start there. So that's the lowest right now. It's 15, 5, and 10. And then when you jump to 10,000, it's 15, 10 and 10,
Also go down, yeah.
and then 15, 10 and 10 for 20,000. And then the 5 acre one that jumps up to that, and it's 50, 25 and 50. So quite a bit different, a little bit different, I guess.
Can you show me the
Mhm,
table one more time?
mhm, mhm.
And then, so all he did was basically divide, split at 10,000 and said anything less than 10,000 has a minimum lot developable threshold of 5,000. And then I'm not sure if those 50-foot thing might be interesting for some of those parcels, but and then the front is basically, or these are the same as they are now.
Because we live in.
The rear jumped up on the over 10,000 to
Sisters on this one.
20. Should we leave that at 10 on the rear?
Over here and the house is over there. So I
And
got
the front jumped up
taxes
to,
on both counties.
y'all need to talk, tell me something. Y'all have comments on this?
Look at. There's a whole bunch of people.
Why did we, why did we take that up so much more for over 10,000? We all talked about this. I'm just trying to remember our rationale.
I mean, part of the discussion was just density and fire,
Yeah.
fire related, but
Well,
so
talking about, we didn't want sort of the
we can think about it and talk
zero
more.
lot line and the McMansion kind of thing. But I don't know, are we being reasonable if you have a 10,000 square foot lot? Is that too much in the front, 30 feet, and is 20 in the back too much? When it was 15 in the front previously and 10 in the back previously. Even our 20,000 foot lots were 15, 10 and 10.
I think that setback is a little too high for the 10,000 square foot lots.
Yeah, 10,000 is a, medium size. It's what,
Mhm.
quarter of an acre or so, or
Yeah.
less, a little less. So there's a lot of those in town that 20 foot could be challenging. I mean, if anything, I would say if there was another breakdown here that was like 20,000 or something, but there's a lot of 20,000 lots in town as well. I'll get them. I don't know. It might be something just for everyone to review and just kind of think about.
Yeah, because even our 20,000 obviously were 15, 10 and 10. And
Right.
I think this commission has certainly struggled with the setbacks a lot of times. I think these are too big. What do y'all think?
Me too. I would agree. I think.
Go back to the 15, 10 and 10?
Yep.
Any- yep.
And if that's the case, do we even need this designation, this separation right here of,
R1,
yeah.
probably not.
Well, it's nice to have the
100 feet.
score, to have the 5 on the side, don't you think? Or does it not matter? On the-
That's true. Yeah. If you want a different side one, that's,
Yeah. All right.
well, you can look at the map and the one, I guess, data point I didn't, or not the only one, but a data point that might be helpful is just to see how many of each size there are. I don't know if that's helpful. I could do that relatively quickly.
Mhm.
If that helps. If not, I think the graphic is pretty
Yeah, I think for the sake of time, I don't think we need numbers compiled. We can see it graphically.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at this map right now, and there are a ton of the 20,000. And lots of the 15. The 10. Plenty of those.
Mhm.
I just think we already have had enough issues with people's setbacks. I just hate to make them bigger. I just don't know that we have the space for it. Todd, do you have input on that?
Well, I can tell you what I experienced on when we built our place, and that we pushed right up to the side and the back limit. And we were almost not buildable.
Wow. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know,
And a lot of it was just the steepness.
15, 5, and 10, just like the 5,000.
You don't want to do 15, 10, and 10, which is what we used to have?
That's fine.
Okay, I'll do that.
We just want room in the front for, so that you're
Like
not
park
right up
car.
to the road, I guess. Your
Yeah, we
house
need
isn't
the
right in
emergency. Emergency vehicle.
Mhm.
So everybody will have 15 in the front.
There you go.
I didn't hear that comment. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying some of the old laws, it's just a fact of life. Our two old places that were built 100 years ago. The lot is so small with two houses on it. If they burn down, no one can ever build on that particular lot again. Period.
They could ask for a variance.
Mhm. Can always ask. That's right.
That's right.
All right. I believe that unless somebody has other business, we should be ready to adjourn at 8:20. Anybody have anything else? All right, I'll be pulling these comments together. I'll send it out to all of you. And if you think I got something wrong or you think it's something else, let me know.
Oh, that's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank all of you. Have a good
Regard
evening.
your-
Thanks. Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.